Everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Precious, and today's video is about living abroad and about things that I have come to realize while living overseas. Things I realized about myself, and also tips, right? Tips for living abroad and tips for surviving overseas, whilst giving you some things that I have realized about myself and just realized about the whole concept of living abroad, right? Let's get into it. Okay, so I have my PC here because I wrote them down, and actually this is from this is coming straight off from my Instagram reel that I made the other day, where I was just like, you know what, no man, I've realized a lot of things that I feel like some people may need to know about, right? And so let's get into it. Number one thing that I've realized is that the grass is not greener on the other side. I said it. Like, as much as we glamorize things, as much as some YouTubers do glamorize this whole living abroad thing, it could be better in terms of economic mobility, economic stability, but in the grand scheme of things, you don't need to do it. Like, you don't need to move abroad. It's like a thing that I've realized, like, the grass is not greener on the other side. It's really not, right? It just depends what your push and pull factors are, where you are. Oh my gosh, the country that you go to does matter. Okay, this is the second thing. The country that you go to, or the country that you relocate or move to, matters. It really does. Okay? Second thing that I've realized is it's okay if you hate living overseas. Like, it's okay if you hate it, because it's not for everybody, right? So this is something that I realized, that if you hate it, that's okay. That's completely okay if you hate it. Okay, the other thing that I realized, or the third thing that I realized, is you need people. We need people. Like, need people. You need people to work together with you, right? You really cannot do this life alone. You really cannot do this life alone. And like, as much as you want to do it, as much as you tell yourself you're alone or you whatever, those are limiting self-beliefs, and sometimes you need to get over it, because we need people. That's something that I realized. Okay, the next thing is a tip and a realization as well. And I was having a conversation with one of my closest friends, and she was like, the next time you're gonna come back to South Africa, Precious, probably in another 3 years. And I was like, no, I'm gonna come back home annually, or come back home forever, because I realized that staying away for too long is not it. I do not recommend it. Like, so this is a tip that I really would love to share with you, is that any little money you get, put it in like a savings, and like save for a ticket home every year annually. Don't stay away from home too long without visiting or without returning, because that's not a good idea. It's just not a good idea. All right, while living overseas is just as much as we prioritize new relationships, because obviously this is a new phase of your life. It's a transitionary period without the people that you know. As much as we prioritize new relationships, do not neglect your old friendships. Don't neglect your old relationships. Don't do it. It's not a good thing. It will leave you so drained, unfulfilled, right? Like, the consequences of that, I feel like we all know. But if you are looking to move abroad, or if you are already abroad, maybe it's your first year, first few months, but this is a tip for you. Please put in effort into not neglecting your old relationships or your old friendships. Don't do it. Right. So another thing, to segue from my last point, and this is something that someone commented on my Instagram. Thank you so much for commenting. She said that, sometimes when you're preparing to physically move, it's important to sit down with your closest friends and discuss the dynamic shift that is going to change. That's a given. Your relationships are going to change. Your friendships are going to change, are going to shift dynamically. It's a dynamic shift because you're not there, right? And so sometimes you're leaving a void. in their lives. So you kind of have to have a conversation around that, right? It's important. Conversations are important, and friendships are important, and real friends do stick with you. Real friends do understand, and real friends hold you down no matter what season of life, no matter where you are. They really do, right? And real friends do reveal themselves. Oh my gosh, yeah. Okay. This is another realization, is that friendships that are solid, that are secure, stand the test of time. They stand the test of distance. They really, really do. I realized this a lot when I went back home, and those that are weak, or friendships that are not so strong, friendships that are not that genuine, they really do kind of fall through. They fizzle themselves out, and that's completely fine. Okay. Next tip that I have realized is to give yourself grace and give everyone around you grace as well. Because as much as you are growing, as much as you are in this new phase, this growing phase of yours, everyone else is growing as well. Everyone else around you is doing their own growing. And it's not even about, okay, no, I'm growing much better, I'm growing much faster than you. No. People are growing, people are moving, people are evolving just as much as you are, right? It doesn't make anybody better than anybody. No one's on a higher pedestal. No one's life is more exciting than the other person's. This is what I've realized, is that no one's life is exciting or more growing or more challenged than anyone else's. So as much as you are growing while living wherever you're living, so is everyone else. People that you left back home, they are also growing just as much as you are. Okay, that's what I've realized. Another thing that I've realized is that, oh man, this is a given. I feel like everyone can agree with me here, because as much as this video is very, very subjective, I really have to say this. This disclaimer, this video is subjective. This is of my own opinion, my own realizations, obviously. So it may not be for everybody. People may disagree, people may agree. Please write your comments down below if you do, if you don't, that's okay. But something that I've also realized is that home will always be home. So one of my friends here, he lived in Canada for I think 1 year, right? And when we started being friends, so he's Japanese and he lived in Canada for like 1 year, and then he came back to Japan. And I was like, why did you come back? And he was just like, I couldn't take it. He said as much as he is very broad-minded, as much as he's so open-minded, so optimistic, the globe-trotting human being, home is just home, and he had to return. He literally had to be like, you know what, home will always be home. So that's something that I've really realized, and it's also true for myself as well. Like, being on this journey, doing this, something that I've always wanted to do. Like when I was in high school, like I said, I've always wanted to live overseas, and I've done it. And now I realized that home will always be home. Okay, so the next thing that I have realized and that I really want to hone in and focus on and tip some people on is that you need a community. Please seek out a community. This whole, especially if you're already an adult, right? Because this whole thing of expecting adult relationships to happen organically, it doesn't really cut it with adult friendships. It doesn't really cut it if you're over a certain age. Maybe you're over 24 and you expect things to come to you. Affirmations, that's great. But in terms of friendships, if you expect people to just gravitate to you and build something naturally, organically, it's not gonna work. You have to put in effort. You have to reach out to people. You have to put in the time. You have to go out your way and actually, hey, let's meet up. Do you want to get pizza? Do you want to do this? Can I join this group? Can I do this? You are going to have to physically put yourself out there for you to have a community. And having a community is so essential. It is so essential to your life overseas and to your life anywhere really. But living overseas and living abroad, my number one tip, I have a lot of number one tips, but like this is part of it, is that you need a community, right? Even if it's just one person, even if it's just two people, right? I also believe that quality is much better than quantity, right? And I have another friend who believes that the many friends you have, the much better you put yourself. And I can understand that. But for me personally, I really believe in quality, right? So even if I have 3 good friends, 5 good friends, 1 good friend, as long as I know that those people are gonna ride with me and they're not gonna judge me as well, I'm good. I don't need to have 10 friends. I really don't need to. I just need to know that these people are gonna ride with me through life, through the ups and downs, through the loneliness, through the frustrations, through everything that is kind of experienced in this transitionary period of one's life, right? Okay, so that's my tip. Moving on. Something that I realized is thank goodness for technology. I think it also goes without saying, but it's so important to mention. Thank goodness for technology. Thank goodness for Steve Jobs, iPhones, okay, Android, okay, that's fine too, but like Steve Jobs, thank you so much. Tim Cook, thank you so much, guys. And the people that created WhatsApp, Brian Acton and what's his name, Jan Koum or something, they created WhatsApp. Thank goodness for those people, because without WhatsApp, without video calling, without FaceTime, without keeping in contact, without technology, it would be hectic. It would be really hectic all the time, everywhere. I mean, like the world, as much as it's safe and a beautiful place to explore, it's also really, really, really scary. And so keeping in contact with your family, with your friends, with your embassies, with your bosses, the people who can take care of you in time of emergencies, that's number one. So thank goodness for technology. And I don't take it for granted. Like, I really don't take it for granted. Like, oh my goodness. Okay. So another thing that I have come to realize is that sometimes you are incompatible with this new place that you find yourself. Like, it's possible to realize that actually I am incompatible with this place. I am incompatible with this society. I am incompatible with this culture. Like, I can't do it anymore. So deuces, peace out, I can't. And that is as well okay. And bravo to you, so brave for even taking that step into doing that, right? So I realized that sometimes people just aren't compatible with certain cultures, certain places, certain nations, certain societies, right? So that's what I've realized as well. Okay, so the next thing is that this one was a comment from my Instagram post, and thank you so much once again. So she commented and she said that expect to learn difficult things about yourself that will be very, very difficult to accept, right? So she was like, living abroad, you are going to realize difficult things about yourself that will be very, very difficult to accept. And I completely agree with her comment. I completely agree with her comment that sometimes you may not like the person you become. You may not like the realizations that you realize about yourself. They'd be like, I completely agree with this. The person commented that sometimes when you live abroad, you will realize, or when you live overseas, you will realize that it's actually just too frustrating. Like, it's actually too frustrating, too overwhelming. The process of adjustment, the process of adjusting to new environments, new people, new social norms is very frustrating and very overwhelming. And sometimes if you can't do it, that's okay. You can go back. So thank you so much for this comment as well. And one thing that I don't know if I should say, because my whole channel started because of that, but I do have to be honest, right? And I want to say that I've come to realize that JET program does not teach you anything. Now, is it a waste of time? That's a different conversation, right? That's a different conversation, and I feel like I need to have a lot more people's opinion and a lot more people's collaborative thought on that one, right? But for now, I have come to realize that JET program teaches you nothing. I I said it. I don't know, guys. I don't know. What do you think? What have you learned from the JET program? Yes, unless you are actually a teacher, unless you are actually wanting to teach as a career, or unless you came from a teaching background, right? Then of course. But as it stands, what I've come to realize, what I've come to realize is that, okay, let's move on. One tip that I would love to give you with sending money overseas, sending money back home, or like international transaction of money, is just make your life easy and use TransferWise. And also it just makes your life so much easier, and also the rates are very, very cheap compared to other remittance apps, right? So that they are very quick, very easy to use. So a number one tip on money and transferring money back home is just use TransferWise. Download TransferWise and just, I don't know, maybe like stick with them. If there are any easier options, please let me know down in the comments below, wherever you are, and not just in Tokyo, not just in Asia, or wherever you are living abroad, in Europe, in North America, South America, Oceania, New Zealand, Australia. Let me know. That I realized living overseas or living in Japan is that if you don't want to learn Japanese, you don't have to. It's fine. 大丈夫です。大丈夫です。本当に絶対大丈夫です。I had this one girl DM me on Instagram, and she was like, do I know the Japanese national anthem? What? No. And nor do I plan on knowing it. Sorry. But no, I just wanted to say that if you don't plan on learning Japanese, that's completely fine, and no one should make you feel bad. But this is my opinion, and I feel like no one should make you feel bad if you don't plan on living here long term, if you don't plan on making something out of this, because it's a very concentrated language where it's only spoken only in this part of the world, right? However, there are kind of bilateral relations between countries and between South Africa and Japan as well, and it could be a great career option. But if your career is not within that route, if your career does not involve for the foreseeable future, if it does not require, or if it's not a need, you don't have to do it. That's what I've come to realize. Like, you don't have to do it, and anyone that makes you feel bad about it, that's fine. It's okay. It's not in my plans long term to use this, and it's okay, right? Another thing that I've realized while living overseas is that it won't solve your problems. It may solve economic problems. Moving overseas or moving out of your country or moving away from home does not solve your problems. You will also come across new challenges, new problems. As long as you are going to be an adult in this world and you have to fend for yourself and you have to keep yourself alive, problems don't just get solved just because you now have a new address. Like, I've come to realize that, right? And this is not a doom and gloom video. Like, it feels like it, but it's not. It's just things I've realized and that I thought I would share, so that I keep it honest, keep it a little bit 100, for the people out there who are considering or who have already moved. Challenges are always going to be there. To run into new challenges as you grow, as you meet new people, as you kind of go through transitions. Challenges are always going to be there. It's just now, have you or are you becoming somebody better equipped to deal with them? Thank you so much for watching these tips and this video about things that I have realized while living overseas. And obviously this is not exhaustive, and this is also quite light-hearted. Like, I didn't want to go into heavy stuff, and it's not objective, so it might not be for everybody. But if you are living overseas and you are watching this video, please let me know some things that you have realized about living overseas. I'd love people all over the world to actually know that I've realized this about living overseas as well. And also any tips that you may have for people. So much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye.